Hi everyone and welcome back to the Crafty Yellow Camper, and today I just wanted to share a technique with you. It's not a technique that I was familiar with until I watched a video on YouTube from a lovely American fellow demonstrator called Tina Zink, and she was showcasing this technique with the autumn leaves stamps that we have available at the minute, and when I saw her video I loved her card, but I thought it might be a nice thing to try with the snowflakes. So this is what I've made. I'm not going to show you how to put the whole card together, I'm just going to show you how to do the technique to create this background, because how you decorate it is up to you. Okay, so let's get started. I believe the technique is called the Joseph's coat technique, and some of you may or may not have heard of that before. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start. I've got a selection of inks here. I've got Pool Party, Coastal Cabana, Highland Heather and Misty Moonlight. We're going to use 3 initially and then we'll go back in with the last one. So all I'm going to do, I can't find my sponge daubers, so please excuse me. I have pinched some of my washing up sponges and cut them into chunks, and they will hopefully do the job for us today. You could equally use blending brushes if you don't have any sponge daubers, and actually I have got some blending brushes, so I'm not entirely sure why I'm not using them, but anyway, I got quite a good result using my washing up sponges, so we'll stick with that for now. So what I'm doing, I've started with the lightest colour, which is Pool Party, and I am just sponging very randomly over my cardstock. Okay, so the next one I'm going to come in with is Coastal Cabana, which is a slightly darker version of the Pool Party. So I'm just sponging in circular motions. Okay, we just want to get some colour down. It doesn't have to be organised colour, just random colour. So go with wherever the mood takes you. Okay, put a bit of that over there, and then we're going to go in with the Highland Heather, and to add some of this gorgeous purple is my favourite colour. Can't get enough of it. I have purple bikes, you name it, I've got it in purple. Okay. My friends laugh at me because when I go mountain biking, my bike is purple, my gear is purple. I even looked at some purple pedals the other day, which I might add onto my shopping list for my birthday a bit later on in the year. Right, okay, so can you see we've got that sort of like cloud effect, I suppose, by using the sponges, and I've deliberately left a little bit of white space, and you'll see why in a minute. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring in my Versamark pad. Please excuse the state of my Versamark. I always say this every time I use this in a YouTube video, but it just goes to show it's well used. You can buy a re-inker for your Versamark pads, so even if yours looks like mine, it doesn't affect how it works. It doesn't have to be pristine. Mine's been used quite a lot in classes, and ladies don't always remember to clean the ink pads, ink off their stamps. Okay, so I'm going in with the snowflakes off from the set that I've been using, Snowflake Wishes. I love this set, it's been on my desk quite a lot, and I'm just giving that a good inking up with Versamark, which as you know is tacky ink, and we just want to get a good coverage of ink on the stamp. And if you're worried that you can't see where you've stamped, if you sort of tip it under the light, I don't know if you can, you probably won't be able to see on here until I emboss it, but I can see where I've gone with the stamp set. Sorry, with the stamp. Okay, so I'm going to have, where have we got one? I'm going to have another little bit of it here. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll do for now. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to emboss this with clear embossing powder. I am going to use another stamp on it, but I find it easier to do it bit by bit, so that way you can see where you've actually got things stamped. you probably haven't noticed on my other card because I managed to cover it up with a greeting, but I actually did overlap some of the stamping. Never throw away your cards if you make a mistake like that, because there's always a way to save it. Give it a good flick from behind to get any excess embossing powder off. I'll just tip this back into the pot. Don't leave your pot with the lid off, otherwise you could end up knocking it off and then knocking it over, and then you'll have embossing powder everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in my heat gun. I've been using it a little bit, so it's warmed up, and I'm just going to heat that clear embossing powder. And you'll see it start to melt because it will become shiny instead of matte. Hope you can hear me over the noise. Okay, so I'm just heating that embossing powder. Don't burn your fingers. The only reason I'm lifting mine up is because I work on a laminated mat and I don't want to bubble the laminated surface of my grid paper. Okay, so that's that all heated. Just give it a minute to cool down. You can see that you can actually hopefully see, there we are, hopefully you can see the snowflakes. Oh my goodness me, I think I've been in here too long. Okay, the snowflakes on there. So I'm going to fill in with this smaller snowflake stamp because we want a reasonable coverage of snowflakes. So once I've heated the bigger ones, then I can see where I've got gaps, and that makes it a little bit easier to do it without covering over something you've already stamped with the Versamark, and then that way you don't get overlaps. I reckon I'll get one in there. Okay, so by tilting it again I can see where I've got where I've gone with the stamp. You probably can't see that on the video right at the minute, but you will in a minute when I put the powder on. Right, so I think that will do for that. Okay, so back we come in with our little tray again. I usually emboss over a Chinese takeaway tub because it gives you a little bit more room, but I haven't got one for clear embossing powder on the go at the moment, so I'm just going to go over with into one of my little tidy trays. And I'm just going over where I've stamped with that next stamp, and I think we've got it all. Might be a bit here that I didn't get. Okay, give that a good flick from behind. Tip your powder away. Try and get into the habit of always putting your powder away in between heating. Take it from me, there's nothing worse than an entire tub of embossing powder flicked all over the floor. I've done it. Okay, I'm just going to get a paintbrush, and actually no, I need a big brush. I'm just going to grab my barber's brush to flick that unheated powder. That's spilled there. You can actually use your embossing brush if you want to clear out the tray, but you'll be surprised how much gets left on the tray, so I tend to go over with a big brush. I have actually got something called a surface sweep brush, which is a big brush specially designed for it, but like everything else, there's so much stuff on my desk I can't actually get to it. All right, you can see it, can't reach it. Okay, so we're just going to heat those last bits of embossing. Please excuse the noise. Again, I would suggest you heat yours flat, but I'm only doing mine up in the air, so A, you can see, and B, so I don't melt the laminated covering on my grid paper. Another one there. You can see when they heated satisfactorily because they go shiny and they're no longer matte. There we go. Can you see that there? There we go. You can see them now. Right, so this is where it looks like we're going to undo all that really nice work that we've already done. So far we've got our nice background. Oh, sorry, didn't realise I'd knocked the knock the camera. Let me just tip that up. We've got our nice background of those sort of like smooshed colours all together, and we've got our snowflakes. So now what we're going to do is come in with some Misty Moonlight, and this time I am going to use a blending brush because it's quicker. Okay, and I'll just get some colour on there, and what I'm going to start to do is blend over. And you might at this point be thinking what I was thinking the first time I saw this done. Why on earth did you go to all that trouble to make that pretty coloured background with those other colours if you're just going to cover it up? And actually, the one that I saw Tina Zink do, she actually went over with black ink. And I've got to confess, I was shouting at the iPad screen going, no, what are you doing? Why have you just done that? And then all becomes clear. Okay, so we've gone over our snowflakes and our colour that we already had. And can you see we've now got this sort of moody blue background, which you can see the colour. And I actually quite like it like that. But what we're going to do next, I'm just going to wipe this ink off my desk a little bit. And what we're going to do next is we are going to clean off the snowflakes. So for that, I have got a piece of kitchen towel, and I'm just going to buff over where we've embossed. Now, Tina Zink used a baby wipe first. I find if I use a baby wipe, I end up making the cardstock too wet. So if you want to give it a go, by all means, but be very careful that you don't make the cardstock too wet. On my sample card, that's exactly what happened, and I had to dry it off with the heat gun so I could put the card together. Okay, so just go over where you've embossed the snowflakes, and you'll see that that brings off all the ink that is sitting on top of the snowflakes. Now, don't forget those snowflakes were embossed in clear. They weren't embossed in white, and I'll just finish giving this a buff and I will show you in a second, close up to the camera. So can you see that? So where we've wiped off the ink that went over where we'd clear embossed, you can see the background colours shining through there. So you can see that Coastal Cabana and the Highland Heather, because basically what's happened is the clear embossing powder has sealed that ink. So then when we went over the top with the Misty Moonlight, it can't distort those colours. And I think you'll agree that that's actually quite a nice background. There we go. So that is a variation on Tina Zink's Joseph's Coat background that she did with the autumn leaves. And as I said, I've just mounted, this is one I did earlier, I've just mounted that onto a piece of Night of Navy, which will then go onto a card front. I've stamped a sentiment onto a scrap piece of Whisper White, and I've die cut 2 snowflakes from the Balmy Blue glimmer paper, and I've cut the bigger one in half, so we've got half at the bottom, half at the top, and then this little tiny one, I've just added one of these gorgeous rhinestones that come with the Snowflake Splendour suite. The camera doesn't really do them justice. And there we go. So that's the one we've just done together, and that's the finished card front. And I hope you find that technique useful, and try it with different stamps that you've got. That's all for me for now, and I'll be back soon with some more card ideas soon. Thanks for watching. Happy stamping.